And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with game 2 here of the semifinals of the Demacia division. It's DoV Chaos facing off against Prismatic Esports. And in game 2, it's going to be Prismatic on the blue side here, DoV Chaos on the red side. And game 1 was an absolute sweep here from DoV Chaos. They did have a bye week being that first seed, but it looks like the time off has not hurt them at all whatsoever as they came roaring into game 1 here. Just absolutely overwhelming Prismatic in every single lane, and there really wasn't much Prismatic could do there in game 1. And with that, now we are going to be hitting straight into game 2. Picks and bans, no changes to either roster. Prismatic on the blue side, they're going to ban out the Mordekaiser, Rumble, and Volibear. So indeed, they are actually going to make sure that the Mordekaiser is not available for SSJR. Chaos going to ban out the Darius, Wukong, Anivir, Galio, and Kassadin. So again, very similar bans to game 1 here. They don't feel a need to change that much up, but their picks certainly have. As Prismatic goes with the Ashe, Garen, Sejuani, Malzahar, and Morgana here for themselves. So a lot more pick potential. And they still have really strong AoE with that Garen, with the Morgana, and with the Sejuani as well, and great initiate as well. I actually really like this draft. It lets them be very proactive, and I certainly hope they do take use of that. I also like the Garen here for Just Storming in the top. We did see Just Storming really manage to carry a game on the Garen last week in the quarterfinals. And again, the fact that he couldn't play the tank well into DoV Chaos, and now he's switching to the carry, I think that's a good sort of change here for Prismatic. And really, any of their lanes here now have much stronger carry potential. As for DoV Chaos, they've actually changed up their picks quite a bit here, surprisingly. Despite winning game 1, they feel that rather than just playing the same old thing, they're going to switch things up. So they, this time, pick the Shen for themselves. SSJR wanting to show Just Storming how it's done here. They also select the Braum Aphelios in their bot lane, as well as Trundle Orianna for their jungle and mid laners here. And it's an interesting idea that they actually picked the Aphelios into the Ashe. Right now, Ashe in professional play in the higher levels is considered a bit of a counter to Aphelios. It does have the range and the safety and the zoning, the crowd control, the perpetual slow to control the distance against Aphelios there. So generally is considered sort of a counter to Aphelios. Does outrange Aphelios in more than half his gun modes there. So interesting choice that Dolphin opts to go into this matchup with the Aphelios into the Ashe, but does scale amazingly well into the late game. They now have themselves that sort of cross-map playability with the Shen as well, and they've got a really, really solid team fight. So it looks like they're putting a lot of their eggs into the Dolphin and the Judas basket here with that Orianna, with that Aphelios, and we'll have to see if that does actually pan out for them, because a huge change. They also do have to be careful not to get caught out, because Prismatic going to be very, very good at punishing positional mistakes here with that Ashe, with that Sejuani, and with the Malzahar as well. And with that, they can go down to Rift. So we're going to be joining them here on the Summoner's Rift. Once again, it is Prismatic on the blue side this game here. So, and it will be the DoV Chaos on the red side. And we'll have to see how this one's going to pan out here. We do see all of Prismatic opting to run together. They do have a fairly decent level 1 with that Morgana. Have to be careful of the Braum though. Braum also rather strong in those early levels here. And it looks like they're just 5 stacking. Maybe a delayed invade potentially. We'll have to see how that one goes. And unlike game 1, I am actually expecting Prismatic to have themselves quite a decent early laning phase here. So hopefully they will not be the ones to sort of get run over in laning phase, because game 1 saw DoV Chaos just get such big leads in the side lanes that the mid game was just them sort of dominating. And it was not just a gold difference. Like gold wise, they weren't that far ahead. It was more of sort of a psychological strength, as well as SSJR in that top lane just getting so strong that on a Mordekaiser, it's so hard to gank him, so hard to reverse that. And when he shows up in team fights, it just swung things DoV Chaos's way. Whereas this time, it might be quite a different thing here with the psychological advantage potentially going to end up on Prismatic, because they should have the priority. They should be the proactive team here. And we'll have to see if that is actually how this game plays out. Interestingly enough, we're seeing both top laners start on the top side this time here in the game. And it might just be that Trundle favors that red buff early and Sejuani with the blue buff as well. Certainly they do better with those buffs, but a lot of times we've seen junglers opt to start rather than which buff benefits them more, it's more which lane would benefit from an early gank here. So it might be also that they're looking to throw some ganks into that bot side. They're okay leaving that top side on its own for now. We're seeing Mickey Mouse just being bullied out right now by Orianna, by Judas here. Orianna can be a little bit of a lane bully here. Does have actually really strong level 1. The auto attack scaling up with that clockwork passive can do a lot of work here. And Malzahar generally not enjoying a huge advantage against Orianna. A lot of the kit doesn't work. If you throw down the Malefic Visions, the command protect from Orianna can negate a lot of the damage, and just having the ball able to constantly position, pop that shield does make it very difficult. Once you start getting the Voidlings, the summon Voidlings as well, they can get cleared very effectively. So Mickey Mouse probably not going to have a fun lane for a little bit, but we do see Sonic Abs now finding Noise in the jungle. Trundle, the better duelist here. He has to be careful though. He's going to enemy territory, and we see Dark Prince immediately responding to back up his jungler here. And that's a pretty normal thing to see here. A lot of times when you've got the Sejuani, you are a bit more of a passive jungler. If you see anything that even remotely approaches a dueling sort of jungler, a lot of times you will see the invade coming out early here. That being said, we might potentially see a gank. No, instead it's going to be the scuttle in Noise's eyes here. Judas in the mid lane is low on mana, but Mickey Mouse is low on mana and health. So he is going to have to go back here. And he doesn't have a lot of gold, only about 485, just shy of 500 in pocket, so he won't really be able to purchase anything big here for himself. He is opting for that Dark Seal, wants more sustain in lane with the corrupting pot start he had. And now Noise in the enemy jungle has to be extremely careful. Is going to try and hop away. The pillar comes out, the slow is there. It doesn't exactly cut him off, and he's going to look to try and get away. Has up the flash available, will have to use it, and did not, I don't think, really get any of the Raptors in there. So that's a bit of a rough invade here from Noise. A nice try, but a bit of an iffy proposition with the Sejuani here. And the junglers have been surprisingly active thus far. Not similar to that first game where they were both just looking to farm things up. They've both been sort of active, looking for invades, looking to find each other out. And that means the lanes have not been getting much attention at all. So if we look at the lanes, SSJR, despite being on the Shen this game, is actually doing extremely well for himself. He first picked this, so the Garen is a counter, but it is actually SSJR doing decently well. He's got himself a bit of an advantage in terms of CS. Bot side, once again, so amusing, seeming to dominate, or not dominate, but finding advantages here in the early game for himself. Is up about 4 CS as well. Very minor leads here, and that bodes well for DoV Chaos. Despite having the weaker early lanes, they're doing perfectly decently with 0 jungle pressure. And we'll likely not see a ton of action till level 6 when the ultimates begin coming out here. You will have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow there for Prismatic's bot lane. Not to mention the Dark Binding as well to kick things off. And for the side of DoV Chaos, level 6, not necessarily huge for Aphelios. I mean, yes, it can give you the Moonlight Vigil where you can unlock a whole bunch of abilities. So maybe you see the Gravitum engage there from long range. But most of his sort of ultimates there are more for team fights rather than the 2v2s. Plaguekeeper though, with that Braum with the Glacial Fissure can be absolutely huge defensively or offensively here. So that would be what you want to keep your eyes on. But the junglers as well. Noise only level 4 right now on par with the duo lane. So not even close to having an ultimate. He might be looking for a brute force gank. We'll have to see if he can land it here. And the Infernum doing work. It's poking so amusing out so much right now. It's doing more work than that volley. And Noise going to show up here, but what can he do? The Dark Binding comes across. Plaguekeeper able to hop out. Noise going to dash in. Can't apply the slow. Can't apply the stun. And that's a lot of wasted time. And instead, what on earth? So amusing going down to minions there. I mean, in a way that lives up to his name, because it was kind of amusing watching him just go down. I mean, that was just him not paying attention to the damage coming out of the minions, and that is a really rough first blood to give over. The sort of consolation there is that it went on to Plagued Keeper and not on to Dolphin there. Now we are seeing the benefits of 6. As I said, a lot of pressure in that mid lane. Immediately it comes out. They go on to Judas. Judas is going to go down. The flash not able to get him to safety as Noise able to apply the stun, and at least Prismatic able to fire back into the mid lane there will be great for them. Sonic Abs was on the Dragon and will pick up the Ocean Drake here for DoV Chaos, and that's going to be absolutely massive for them. Yeah, and that was just such a careless first blood to give over. Will sort of hurt that bot lane a little bit as well. They should have had the advantage with that sort of forced gank, because Dolphin, you know, was pushed back a little bit, and that should have given Prio over to Prismatic, but instead it just ends up evening everything out. We do see So Amusing coming back with that BF sword though, so that will be very, very nice to dominate the lane. And Dolphin didn't go back to base to buy, so he's going to be down a major item, and that is a solid chunk of AD damage here that will not be available for the side of Dolphin. He will not be wanting to fight anything anytime soon here. SSJR now is level 6. He did opt to go for the teleport rather than the ignite that we saw Just Storming take in lane here. So has a lot more mobility, did just teleport back into lane. And now Plague Keeper, are they going to look for this here? They might. The Moonlight Visual comes up, but the flash to stun does apply. Plague Keeper not yet 6. There is no Glacial Fissure to follow, unfortunately, or that could potentially have been a kill. But that is all the summoners blown out of So Amusing for now. He does have to be careful when Plague, who just did hit 6, might look for an engage here. And that's actually really surprising considering he did have the item advantage, but Dark Prince just was not anywhere near enough to be able to come in and help out in that fight. So it's effectively a 1v2 there. And Plague Keeper going in. There we go. That's the Glacial Fissure we were talking about. But where's Dolphin? He's too far away. Gravitum coming out now. The root lands onto Dark Prince, but the damage coming up from So Amusing, he's able to start firing back here. Plague Keeper has to be careful. We'll hop to a minion instead, and just a series of very unfortunate engages here from both sides. They do not find a kill, and they don't even really find an advantage for themselves. They have to be careful because Noise now is here. He does have the Glacial Prison, a good flash over, and it's going to be the flash immediate cleanse from Dolphin. He didn't get stunned up, but didn't even want to get the slow applied. They're now firing back, and Plague Keeper is going to get stunned up, will be able to get out though, and yet another sort of futile engage here, as Dolphin and Plague Keeper will now go back to base and look to spend their first buys here. Meanwhile, Sonic Abs, rather than looking to gank, has sort of looked to just power farm in the jungle. He does manage to find himself quite a bit of a CS lead right now, which is bigger in the jungle. Enchanted Crystal Arrow actually coming across will spot out Just Storming in the pit, as well as Mickey Mouse. Will not find an engage though, and that's perfectly fine. Oh, pardon me, sorry. The Ash actually was coming out from Prismatic, so it doesn't find anybody in the pit there. I think they might have been looking for SSJR potentially. Doesn't find anything, but that's okay. The cooldown on that outfit's fairly low, 90 seconds, minute and a half. By the time he gets back in lane, it will be roughly about halfway back up already. And now Sonic Abs did manage to creep up into this top side. He's looking for a gank for himself. The slow comes out the pillar, but no real damage. Sonic Abs too far behind. I think they forced that a little bit early there, and we do see Noise once again in the area, but no Glacial Prison this time. So has to be extremely careful if he does look for this engage here. And Ward will get cleared out. He knows Sonic Abs is still there. I don't think they win this 2v2. The Subjugate from Sonic Abs is currently unavailable though, so maybe they can find something here. But it looks like both junglers just going to opt to back out here. Neither of them feeling like they've got a particularly strong chance of finding a kill, because we do see Just Storming shoved under turret, but that Garen passive just keeps on healing him up, along with that Reju beat and the Duran shield as well. Just makes him so difficult to dive under a turret. And we did see Dolphin, Judas, and Plague Keeper go back to base. They're now back in lane. We see the components of the IE here for Dolphin. So that's a lot of damage. And instantly the stun up from onto Dark Prince. The Black Shield comes out. Will be able to block the Glacial Fissure. And can they find a kill? No, they can't. Instead, it's going to be Plague Keeper rooted under the turret. He has to drop back here. Noise has arrived. The Glacial Prison coming out immediately. Will be just barely enough to tag Dolphin. And the ADCs trade over here as the Stand United comes down. And it is going to be Noise now getting locked up, but SSJR as well. The Nethergrass coming out, and that damage is going to be enough to dissuade the engage for now. A lot of sort of globals burn here. We see the Stand United being used as well as the teleport from Mickey Mouse for the win. And that does mean that both Judas and Just Storming get a solo low lane for now. Just Storming taking advantage of this. He's looking to try and get the first turret of the game here. He might actually be able to do it. He has a sizable minion wave with him. It's already down to that last plate, but he's opting to just go and cut the minion wave instead. Meanwhile, Judas going the opposite route. He's not going to pressure the mid lane too much. He got one plate and he's going to go down, pick themselves up a Drake for themselves here. And it will be the Mountain Drake. And it will cause a trigger for the Cloud map here from here on out. And unfortunately, the Mountain Drake, not a very, very strong single Drake to take. It does give a 6% armor and magic resistance here, but it won't be that massive if you only have one. It's one of those Drakes that you really want to stack up, similar to the Cloud Drake there, which works best when you can stack it up, and it is potentially a huge stack here for Prismatic. We do see the Command Shockwave here, as well as the follow-up. They don't find a kill, but they do get the flash out of Mickey Mouse, and that will probably signal Mickey Mouse to have to go back to base, because he is kind of low here. Instead, he's looking like he's going to try and pick up this blue buff for now. We'll be able to find it. And is he going to stick around in lane here? He doesn't have any more stacks on that Corrupting Pot, so will not have that much more regeneration for now. And it looks like, yeah, that he is going to stick around instead. Just focus on wave clearing here so that he doesn't miss too much CS. And a very, very even game 2 here thus far. Neither team looking like they're in the lead. If you look at the gold here, it's only about 100 Glacial Fissure in that bot lane coming out, but it doesn't land on anybody, and that's going to be a reset here. DoV Chaos's bot lane actually starting to look strong right now. They look like they've got the ability to really punish and bully out So Amusing and Dark Prince here. Now they repeat the gank onto Mickey Mouse. He overstayed. He is going to go down, and that blue buff he picked up is going to be transferred over to Doifin Judas in that mid lane instead. That is the price of greed here. He will go back, as now completed the GLP, the Hextech GLP for himself. An interesting buy for a Malzahar in the mid lane here. It is something that we've seen show up much more frequently right now, with Malzahar sort of running that utility that slow as well, and looking to just provide CC for the team. Meanwhile, Noise did pick up the Herald. Is going to drop it into that top lane here. They're going to brute force this first turret, but it is going to be Noise getting taunted up under turret. The turret does go down. But can they find Noise? He's living on less than 10 health, 12 health, 15 health. Is he going to get away? It looks like he might, and Just Storming comes in, does get the damage up. They do find a kill. SSJR is the taunt coming up, will be available in 2 seconds. He's going to dash in, will find the kill, but Just Storming able to pick up 2 for himself in exchange. Definitely a worthwhile trade. Great play from Prismatic here. The bot side, it is going to be Plaguekeeper going down, and now So Amusing, showing why Ashe is generally considered the counter against Aphelios. Will force the Flash Cleanse out of Dolphin here, and Prismatic just winning out a lot of these trades here. But despite all of that, they're almost still dead even in gold, surprisingly. So DoV Chaos somehow finding leads elsewhere, able to balance things out. Topside, Shelly gets a second charge drop, and they get an inner to boot. Shelly doing work. That's 2 turrets down for Prismatic in that topside. And SSJR gonna find himself in a hyper extended lane here against a Garen. And interesting buy choices from Just Storming. He looks like he's going for that Trinity Force, but rather than building an early Sheen, which is what we see come out of a lot of Garens here, he's gone for the Stinger Zeal instead. So he's got a lot of attack speed. Now does finally pick up that Sheen, so we'll have a bit more burst damage to trade along against SSJR here. And Prismatic looking much, much stronger here in game 2, looking to be the proactive team, and that is what you want to see out of this composition. They've got so many tools available for themselves here. But with that sort of support Malzahar, I do worry a little bit for their damage. Last game, they put all their eggs kind of into that So Amusing basket as well. So they're doing that again here, it looks like, and we'll have to see if that works out for them. Ashe, much bigger range, which I do like to see, much safer in a way, but much less mobility despite the range. Will not have any sort of repositioning, so Amusing will have to play and position perfectly, while SSJ are just getting run down in that long lane. That's the concern here. when you've got all your turrets down against the Garen, he can just run you down, run you in, and pick up the kill there. So the Shen pick just not seeming to work out here in this series. And now Mickey Mouse getting bullied around by Dolphin. Has to be careful. Are they going to look for the damage? Both of them actually carrying the Hextech GLP, but it's Noise showing up here. The Nethergrass comes out, followed up immediately by the Glacial Prison. I think it was a little too early there, and so Dolphin, pardon me, able to flash out to safety there for now. That is still a flash expended here from Judas, but he did hold that command shockwave. Will be available for the next fight. Where's the Nethergrass from Mickey Mouse is down here, so they will not be able to use it to get a guaranteed point and click sort of initiate here. Meanwhile, we do see Just Storming now running down. No teleport on him. He did opt for the Ignite, which did work out really, really well for him. He's 3-0 right now. SSGR are going to continue pushing up on top. And the Dragon was started up, and it is going to be Prismatic who have now rotated onto it here. And we are going to see a full, potentially 5v5. It is going to be Just Storming initiating this one, and he's running into the backline. Plaguekeeper taking down, will barely survive, and Dolphin able to free fire. We see that a damage that Aphelios is infamous for. He gets a double kill on Noise and Just Storming. They're going to keep on going. Judas on the other side will go down, but not before he gets him extremely, extremely low. Now a triple kill for Dolphin here. Can he get a quadra? No, he's turned back around. They're just going for the Dragon here. He's using Severum, just getting that lifesteal here. And meanwhile, on the backline, SSJR able to finally hunt and kill Mickey Mouse. That is a 4-for-1 here. An extremely good trade for DoV Chaos. And what a swingy game here, back and forth. That bit of hesitation, I think, on Prismatic. Normally, it is the team that sort of splits that loses fights here. And we did see it was Judas, of all people, to split. So you can't even call that a flank there. But he did manage to get his shockwave off. And that was absolutely massive. Not to mention Prismatic looking like they were hesitating which side they should go. Just Storming initiating that fight and then getting abandoned here. Him and Noise going in. But no follow-up from So Amusing. No follow-up from Mickey Mouse. Meant that Dolphin was just able to constantly put out that damage into the fight. Has the IE, has the QSS as well right now. So will be quite safe here. We will be able to continue pumping out damage, and it is going to be down to Just Storming here sort of to get onto Dolphin, immediately pop him, because if you don't kill an Aphelios, he will be able to constantly just pump out damage in these team fights. As for So Amusing, it looks like rather than going for that Runans for team fights, he's looking to build himself a Trinity Force instead. The Essence Reaver Trinity Force is more of a poke build for Ash here, so that tells me Prismatic not wanting to look for team fights. And honestly, I can't blame them right now. A lot of their team fights have not been working out for them in Game 1 and Game 2. Game 1, they also built themselves a really solid 5v5 team fight along with double globals, and they just couldn't seem to win any team fights. Here in Game 2, it looks like they respond a bit better in terms of rotations, but they are struggling still to win even-numbered fights, even when they are a little bit ahead in terms of gold and items sometimes. So just a really rough one here for Prismatic, and if they just can't seem to get their team fight act together, I think they're going to struggle here in this series a lot. That being said, they aren't very far behind. This game is still very, very even. 500 gold right now, the difference that splits the two teams. Instead, the bigger concern is the 3 dragons that have gone over the way of DoV Chaos here. Those stats are starting to come into play. That regeneration means that the poking less effective here, which is one of the reasons why I question why the Trinity Force here from So Amusing. But he is instead going for the Executioners, calling Mickey Mouse going in. That he nether grasps up Plaguekeeper of all people. The Glacial Fissure coming across, and that's going to be able to tag Dark Prince up. He gets absolutely melted. Noise now trying to run away. He's flashing, but so is Sonic Abs. They're going in. They find So Amusing. There's nowhere for him to run. The taunt is good. There's a double kill here for Dolphin as well, as they manage to pick up Noise here. And Mickey Mouse, the only survivor of that mid lane team fight, and that was kind of bad for them. It was a 4v4, even numbers. Just Storming was opting to continue pushing into that top lane here. The slow comes down. Can Judas look for a kill? The command shockwave comes out. Instead, it's going to be Just Storming flashing in aggressively, knowing the limits of his champion. The Ignite comes down, as does the Demacia Justice there. And it is going to be a kill going over to Just Storming, as well as that inhibitor turret. Well played from him. He wins the micro, but is that going to cost them the macro? Because the Baron is being taken down. No vision there. We do see the blue trinket coming out here from So Amusing immediately. They do spot it up, but that will be Baron going down. Just Storming coming in. He's going to be looking to see what he can find. He's looking for Playkeeper, but no Demacia Justice means he will get shredded down here. The Malefic Visions won't be enough. No, he's going to be able to live, and now the fight continues to extend as Just Storming somehow survives that noise deep into the midst of it. Playkeeper back onto the front lines, but he's so low, will finally get taken down by the Meteor, and it will be Dolphin to follow as we see the Nethergrass come off cooldown, and it is going to be Prismatic firing back. DoV Chaos getting a little too greedy there. They get Baron, they look for a little more, they don't find it, and they're only going to have Baron on 2 members here as Just Storming pulling off the great escape once again. And the Baron power play is going to start with a deficit here for DoV Chaos as they lose their mid lane outer turret to Prismatic Esports. And this is why I wanted to see Just Storming on a carry here. He plays it so much better than he does his tanks, and he's now come online as a possible win condition here for Prismatic, constantly distracting, making DoV Chaos pay for leaving him alone as he manages to get an exposed inhibitor. He managed to go in. He doesn't stop the Baron take, but he does in fact manage to bait them in to the rest of his team here. And now the Nyx Dragon is coming up in about 20 seconds. It will be Cloud Drake here. The more you stack, the more efficient it is. 20% cooldown, nothing to scoff at here, but Just Storming might have overextended a little bit. Can they land the auto attacks? They just need one more to get the stun, but he's going to be able to dodge out long enough. The stun is gone. Enchanted Crystal Arrow stops the engage for now. It's SSJR is the one who gets hit, but So Amusing might have stepped out a little bit. Command Shockwave does not find anybody, but So Amusing will instead get shredded there. Was abandoned. Noise went the other direction. We see the teleport coming in from Mickey Mouse, but he's only going to be there to just run away here. And DoV Chaos able to find one. It might not be the initial target of Just Storming, but it is going to be So Amusing instead. And with that sort of ADC down, it's going to leave his team vulnerable in these team fights. Now Just Storming will finally go down. SSJR picking that one up. Another grass coming up, but you have to remember, Mickey Mouse, when you use that, you can't run either. And Dark Prince will get shredded instead. Noise was abandoned in the Dragon Pit, and the Dragon was just pumping out the damage. He's looking for the steal, but instead the taunt is going to come out. They've sent Platekeeper as well. Can they get the stun? The Glacial Fissure comes across, but it cannot compete against a Smite. And Sonic Abs able to secure a Cloud Soul for the side of DoV Chaos. And these fights have been getting rather messy in these last couple here. We're not seeing the full-on 5v5 Paulins. Instead, it's a lot of sort of kiting around, dragging people out. And so far, that has been sort of in Prismatic's favor, as long as they don't sort of overstep and get caught out, which has been the issue here. So Amusing doing that, Mickey Mouse doing that. If not, they win that. And now So Amusing getting taunted under his turret. Has to be careful. Does actually get the kill onto Sonic Abs here, who did tank up the turret a little too long. Platekeeper looking to get out. They're going to have to abandon Dolphin, who went in to get the kill. He will get taken down by Just Stormin here. So they do end up actually trading 2 for 1. Not worthwhile on that dive. I think they tunnel vision a little bit too hard there. Meanwhile, we do see Judas in that top side with that split push. Oriana, not the fastest split pusher, but it will do just fine to take an outer turret safely here. And if we recap the last, say, 5 minutes here, it's been a bit of a mess. DoV Chaos gets themselves the Baron, gets absolutely zero pressure off the Baron here whatsoever. Really, there was no advantage, and they didn't manage to find anything. And now none of them have Baron left. They did manage to get themselves a Cloud Soul, but they do end up losing a bad trade after winning that Dragon fight for themselves. So DoV Chaos not playing all that clean right now, and that means that this right now is anybody's game. Yes, DoV Chaos did get the Baron, did get the Soul, and they do have a bit of a lead in terms of gold, about 1,000 right now, but they're not in as commanding a position as you might think. That being said, Mickey Mouse cannot afford to get caught out. The GLP Hex Tech does not land from Judas here. The minions blocking it. Instead, it's going to be Mickey Mouse's Hex Tech, which is going to stall and stop Judas from being able to follow up and look for a kill here. But that still is the flash down from Mickey Mouse. Will not be available for the next fight here. And so far, Mickey Mouse on this Malzahar has been less than optimal. Again, seeing that GLP build is something that has been coming up a little bit for Malzahar. And it is a utility build, but unfortunately the cost of that is that you don't have the damage it takes to shred down tanks immediately. Not to mention, a lot of the damage does come from that summon Voidling, so you need your team to back you up on those Nether Grasp sort of catches in team fights here. We saw in the last team fight, he got a target. It wasn't priority, he got Plate Keeper in that last fight, but he just could not survive to get the damage off, because when you use the Nether Grasp, you lock yourself down. When you stare at the Abyss stares back, and apparently when you grasp a target, they grasp back as well. So there's no damage onto him, but there is instead just him getting locked down, and that just allowed the entirety of DoV Chaos to sort of show up and start pumping damage down, taking him out in that Drake fight there. Now we see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out. It will not find Judas, but the Glacial Prison will instead. Command Shockwave comes out, does not find anything at all there, and that's going to be Judas going down without really contributing anything before he goes down there. And the Baron will be coming up in 20 seconds, so Prismatic pulling the trigger a little bit early. By the time it comes up, Judas should not be too far away, and SSG are continuing to split push into this bot side here. And now SSJ are being forced out, but this is an interesting choice by the side of Prismatic. They should have had priority on Baron, but because they sent people to go down to deal with SSJR, they end up not getting him. Another missed arrow here from Amusing. He tried, but SSJR was not even anywhere near there at all. He had opted to go up, and now it is actually going to be DoV Chaos starting up the Baron once again. DoV has been amazing with their Barons here. They've been getting, this is their 4th Baron that they're going to get. And if you take a look on the map, DoV Chaos, Prismatic should have known it was getting started, but did not do it. Instead, Judas now using that QSS, he's going to be able to get out of that Nether Grass. Now Just Storming into the backline. They've peeled off Baron here, and Just Storming is doing work once again. It is going to be Sonic Abs going down here. Will not be available for that smite, and it looks like Prismatic winning this one out because they're already low. They are chasing down Judas, trying to get away here. He ran and split from the rest of his team and is basing in a bush. Ballsy play. Looks like it will be just fine for now. SSJ are getting hunted down by Soul, using the slows, just keep on applying, and Prismatic now should be able to pick this one up for themselves. They find 2 in that massive scrum there. And while I did praise DoV Chaos for having Baron on lock, it looks like I praised them a little too early because they did start it up, but it is going to instead Prismatic picking this one up, and Prismatic looking strong and in the lead here in game 2. And SSJR coming in. He might have jumped the gun a bit early, as he now is going to be sat in the middle for will get shredded down. No hope of escape for him, and DoV Chaos throwing a little bit, especially with the Elder Drake coming up in about 30 seconds here. That being said, SSJR does have Stand United available. He will spawn about 10 seconds after the Elder, so the fight should still be going on if a fight does break out around the Elder Drake here. And DoV Chaos have to fight this one. They can't afford to give up both Baron and Elder here. One is bad enough, but if you give both, it can be an absolute nightmare, and they're having to back off for now. If we take a quick look at vision, you do see Prismatic have set up sufficient vision to be able to spot out where DoV Chaos is. They're wave pushing up as well. On the other hand, DoV Chaos have to go in blind into this. They see 3 members right now of Prismatic, so they don't know if it's already been potentially started up. And now Mickey Mouse in this bush might have overstepped. He goes on to Dolphin there, but a good QSS to keep him alive. Where's the Stand United? It's coming out here, and it does find Mickey Mouse. They are winning this fight, and it is now Dolphin coming online. Just Storming having to run away. Noise here is tanky, but not tanky enough. Not against an Affiliates. So Amusing was forced out of that fight. Does not still have the Runan's Hurricane to really pump out the damage in these fights here. It does have the volley though, the volley applying quite a bit of damage, but now Platekeeper coming in. They found So Amusing once again. He overstepped, no mobility there. He keeps forgetting that Ash cannot reposition, has to stay away, and this will be Elder going the way of DOV Chaos. The only Baron buff left for Prismatic is going to be on Just Storming and Just Storming here, and how the tides have turned right now for both of these teams. The major neutral objectives seeming to be the bane right now of this series. I mean, DOV Chaos first to Baron, they started up, they lose the Baron. Prismatic Insight track on the Elder, they've got positional advantage, ends up losing the fight. This is just a huge mess here, and right now I think we can see from the way these fights have been going, Prismatic excel in the more chaotic, drawn out fights. They don't want to run into the 5v5. What they want to do is sort of string DOV Chaos out, force DOV to make a choice, and often DOV don't all make the same choice together, and that leads to that sort of strung out fight where Prismatic is able to leverage their better skirmishing abilities, whereas DOV Chaos is excelling in these massive team fights. When you've got all five running into each other, the Glacial Fissure and the 5-man taunts become a huge bonus here. Sonic Abs, ironically, on the Trundle should be doing better in skirmishes, but actually does much, much better in these full 5v5 fights where the Pillar just interrupts Prismatic's ability to sort of look for the fights. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out. It does find Platekeeper this time, but a beautiful command shockwave is splitting the front from the back. Noise will get shredded down. SSJR, the target of the Nethergrass, but he is so tanky, he can just ignore a lot of that damage. Does not even take that much, and Dolphin just throwing out the train of chakrams onto the turret for now. And the Elder Drake, the problem is Prismatic, you don't want to fight when Elder Drake is on the side of DOV Chaos. And now Mickey Mouse having to flash away. Will that save him? No, it will not here. As Sonic Abs putting down the damage. The Execute comes across from the Elder Drake buff. And So Amusing, you want to put damage, but you've got to be careful of positioning. We've seen this song and dance so many times here this game. And it is now DOV Chaos pushing in. The Command Shockwave coming out once again. That 20% cooldown doing work. Will not find him, but instead it will be the autos that do the trick here as they find So Amusing. Just Storming trying to run away. But normally he plays it just so close there, but you can't do that with the Elder Drake. The Execute comes down, it was at 20%, and now Noise running into it, but there's no damage here between Dark Prince and Noise. They can't find it. The taunt coming out, but the Black Shield is good. Instead, it's going to be the Frostbite finding that one. Dolphin able to shred Dark Prince in the background. Noise trying to run away, but the damage is going to be solid. The Execute not even having time to come across, and this is going to be DOV Chaos picking up a game 2 here in just that, a chaotic game, which DOV Chaos manages to swim out of here with a win. And DOV Chaos in game 1 showed why they're first seed. They really wrapped that one up real neat. But in game 2, you can't tell that they were actually the better team throughout most of the season. It was just such a mess, and it looked like it just came down ultimately to Prismatic making a mistake there at the tower. That's not a fight you want to take against an eldered up team. Yes, you want to catch them under turret. Yes, that was a good catch onto Platekeeper, but when you couldn't burst him down, you needed to back off. You can't fight outside of your turrets there against an eldered up team. And DOV Chaos too, not looking all that strong really, actually just looked like a huge mess. A lot of positional mistakes from all of them here. Sonic Abs often stepping out too far as that Trundle was with the Gargoyle Stoneblade was actually kind of tanky, but without the rest of the team, no real escape there, no real positional tool. Does get shredded down. Dolphin Judas, my goodness, this game. He ends 3, 4, and 11, but that doesn't show you how many times he was split pushing, got caught out, and had to blow the shockwave early, was not available for team fights. Dolphin Judas on this Aphelios was probably one of their better players here. Positional 14, 3, and 8, and that is an Aphelios that scales. You just can't leave it unattended here. And SSJR in that top side trying to show why Shen's a good pick, but really struggling again. I'm not sure I really like seeing all these Shens in this series thus far. Neither SSJR nor Just Storming have really been able to show the strength of a top lane Shen pick. We did see some great stand Uniteds coming out of SSJR here in game 2, but it was still really, really dicey, and not necessarily the pick I would have gone with. I think just something like an Ornn or Maokai would have done just as well as the Shen if you're looking for that tank here. The split push was nice, but he did get caught out split pushing a couple of times. Did also survive some, so you'll win some, you'll lose some. Going into game 3 here, DoV Chaos is going to have themselves a nice 2-0 lead in terms of the series score, so they can look to experiment. We have seen other teams sort of do that there. SFAD coming to mind, as well as Roar Yordles, and it was the Hype Esports, pardon me, in the Silver Division also winning 3-0. They do have a penchant for sort of experimenting. In game 3, we might see that come out of DoV Chaos, but I think if DoV Chaos does that, they have to be careful. They're not looking as strong in mechanics where you can just afford to experiment with things you're not familiar with and hope to beat Prismatic. And on the other hand, Prismatic now will be forced to win game 3 to keep their playoff hopes alive. So if they have any sort of hidden aces here, now's the time to pull them out. If not, they're going to exit here the playoffs in terms of having a chance to go on to the finals. And with that, we are going to head into an intermission while we prep for game 3, where Prismatic have to win to keep their playoff dreams alive.